Hey peeps, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk the 7 Deadly Sins, chapter 204? Anyway, the chapter, let's talk about it. Apologies for the slight delay on it, but anyway, in the chapter, this was a pretty nice chapter. What we pretty much got was a continuation of the plot from the last week, just seeing it through and seeing what Tripl-L was planning, and also seeing the conflict between the goddesses and the demons and what was going on, or the context that the demons provided in the whole plot with the people who were kidnapped. We find out they're non-combatants. So overall, this is a chapter that fills in the details, tells us a bit more, and it also characterizes the relationships between some of the kings of the clans and Meliodas. The Meliodas line with King at the beginning was pretty much an indicator that maybe Glossinia wasn't still trusting Meliodas in this time period, but you know, Meliodas was still gonna be going and doing these things. So overall, I think it's a pretty solid chapter. I think my standout moment for the chapter, however, had to be Elizabeth saying that Meliodas is her everything and that she's not giving him up. I found that super adorable. Like, that was nice. It was also interesting to see that Monspiet was aware of this relationship and that he was aware of the name Elizabeth. Either way, I guess breaking down this chapter in a bit more, I guess it'd be better just to break it down step by step. So with the first little bit, which was the rallying of the troops, it was Meliodas, King, and Diane getting ready. We had a nice little interaction with Ro. I think now the confirmation is there that this is Bond's previous incarnation, especially with the way that King reacted. It's funny to see him asking Bond to protect his, or Glossinia's sister, as he goes to do things, and how he's a much nicer person than Bond is. Overall, that interaction is adorable. And I think it's really just there to establish, yeah, Bond came back and now he's with Meliodas. Or Ro came back and as Bond, now he's with Meliodas. And it's just funny how Bond ends up involved with King's sister. I think that's just a nice little parallel that's happening. But I do wonder if a request like this early on in a past life would have made a kind of predisposition for Bond's current life. It'd be very interesting to kind of talk about that, because that's an idea that does pop up in reincarnation theory. Anyway, moving on from that, we have that whole little spat with Meliodas and Glossinia, and Meliodas pretty much saying that their clans are all going to be wiped out. And what's interesting here is that Meliodas said, let's be the side of non-aggression. Like, we need to try and end this as peacefully as possible. And that was overall a pretty cool little segment. Then we transition over to the Elizabeth stuff, her stand down with Derriere. It was cool, and it's cool to see that she still has a symbol in her eyes. Now, the stand down with Derriere, it's interesting how Elizabeth didn't believe that the demons were actually kidnapped and that there were civilians and non-combatants in that mess. And just the talk that Elizabeth was having, it's a lot of respect to Elizabeth. Like, she is legitimately trying to end this with as little bloodshed as she possibly can. But things aren't going to go that way. Tripl-L takes advantage and makes it seem like there's something else going on, which leads Derriere to like swatting Elizabeth out of the sky. And I do wonder if that's going to trigger Meliodas later. It most likely will. But anyway, Tripl-L goes for it, and he, I guess, ignites the giant bomb that he had. We find out that it's officially an arc, and that it's been just eating away at the demons. And we find out that the person that looked a lot like Derriere was actually her sister. So that was unfortunate, seeing him actually detonate the arc and taking away all the civilians with it. You know, in these situations, it's still kind of tough because the demons predominantly eat human souls, and this is something like I'll always talk about. The demons haven't made an indication whether or not they can live without eating human souls, so just by the very nature that they prey on another race, they look evil. Even in the non-combatants, we have to assume that they have had their fair share of humans. We just have to assume that that's the case. But at the same time, it's unfortunate because like the chapter is trying to do a lot to make it seem like the goddesses are... Okay, no, not making it seem. The goddesses do have compromised values. That is without a doubt. They have compromised values. But we also have to remember that the demon side isn't a nice side either. It's an interesting situation. Actually, you know what? We've never seen Meliodas eat a human soul. Maybe they don't need to eat human souls. Okay, you know, whether or not the civilians have actually killed humans to eat their souls or wherever, it's still a pretty gray situation. Like, yeah, they're non-combatants, but for all we know, everyone in the demon clan has potential to kill it. No, you know what? That's not a good way of thinking about it. Not a good way of thinking about it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, let's assume that those people are legitimately innocent, and the people that make the most trouble are the people in the army. But still, as far as a war crime goes, that's a pretty big war crime. At the end of the chapter, we end off with 2 more archangels coming in to deal with things, and it's interesting how I guess the 10 Commandments are still ready for that. And what's interesting is how Derriere and Montspiet still get the most attention. Like, they get a lot of focus in the panels that they're in, and I wonder if that's just the author wanting to do more with the characters, or if that's a silent indication that maybe they're not dead in the current timeline. I'd actually really enjoy that. I'd love to see them again, because I think they're legitimately good characters. And the thing is that they're surrounded by 3 other dead characters. Fraudrin's down, Maricilla's down, Galen's turned to stone. So, you know, it'd be nice if those 2 are still up and about, but they had a send-off, and they were kind of there to make a statement that Meliodas is gonna wreck shit. So, I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Anything else I'm, like, forgetting? No, overall, I like the chapter. I like, you know, it's really enjoyable. I like the chapter. It was cool. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. Like, I think it's just gonna get really fast paced from now on, because now we're in the middle of a battle. Things have to get wrapped up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next coming weeks. Other notes on the chapter itself. It was funny how Diane's acting like Diane in a big man's body. Yeah, Derriere was cool to see, like always. Yeah, I think, you know what, I'll leave it there. Overall, Elizabeth is a standout moment for this chapter, and yeah, tell me what you thought. Anyways, till next time, I hope you have a great day.